In 2015, a young programmer stood on stage at Consensus, talking about a blockchain project most people dismissed as just another altcoin. That coin was worth pennies. Today, that same coin, Ethereum, is worth over $2,000. Fast forward to Consensus 2025, just days ago. Dr. Nicholas Kakalis presented Pi Network to the world, a project that millions believed in through years of development, mining on phones, and waiting. A project that went from essentially zero value to briefly touching $3 after launch. But here's what's keeping me up at night. What if we're witnessing the exact same pattern just 10 years apart? What if the skepticism Pi faces today is identical to what Ethereum overcame? What if this is the moment, right now, that will be remembered as Pi's turning point? Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I break down the most significant developments in the crypto space, backed by data, historical patterns, and real-world analysis. And today, we need to talk about what just happened at Consensus 2025, because it might be the most important event in Pi Network's history. I've spent the last 72 hours analyzing every parallel between Ethereum's journey after Consensus 2015 and what could happen to Pi Network after this year's event. The similarities are not just striking, they're almost eerie. In the next 13 minutes, I'm going to walk you through how Ethereum transformed from a speculative project worth pennies to a $2,000 powerhouse, the exact parallels between Vitalik's 2015 moment and Dr. Nicholas's appearance last week. Why Pi's massive community of millions might be the catalyst that Ethereum never had. And most importantly, what this could mean for Pi's future valuation. This isn't financial advice, it's historical pattern recognition. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why some analysts are calling Pi Ethereum's second coming, and others are dismissing it entirely. But before we dive in, I need to make something clear. I'm not here to hype Pi Network or make price predictions. I'm here to show you the data, the historical context, and let you decide for yourself. What I can tell you is this. Those who recognized Ethereum's potential in 2015 and took action are now sitting on returns of over 200,000%. The question is, will Pi follow a similar path, or is this time different? Let's find out by first looking at Ethereum's remarkable journey after Consensus 2015, because understanding this history might be the most valuable lesson for any Pi holder today. When Vitalik Buterin presented Ethereum at Consensus 2015, the reception was lukewarm at best. Critics called it unnecessary, too complex, and just another Bitcoin wannabe. The concept of a programmable blockchain was foreign to most people. Even within the crypto community, Ethereum was seen as a niche experiment. At that time, Ethereum was trading for mere cents. The total market cap was a fraction of what even small crypto projects command today. What's fascinating is how the narrative around Ethereum evolved after that pivotal Consensus appearance. Within 6 months, developers started recognizing the potential of Ethereum's smart contract capabilities. By 2016, the first wave of decentralized applications began emerging. But the real turning point came in 2017 with the ICO boom. Suddenly, everyone needed Ethereum to participate in token sales. This created unprecedented demand, driving Ethereum from under $10 to over $1,400 in a single year. What's often overlooked is that this growth wasn't linear. Ethereum faced multiple existential threats: the DAO hack, scaling issues, and competition from other smart contract platforms. Each time the community rallied, developers innovated, and Ethereum emerged stronger. Fast forward to today, and Ethereum sits at around $2,000, having reached an all-time high of nearly $4,900. That represents a return of over 200,000% from its early days. But more importantly, Ethereum has become the foundation of an entire ecosystem. DeFi, NFTs, DIOs, and countless applications that weren't even conceived of in 2015. But here's what's truly remarkable. The path wasn't obvious to most observers at the time. The same skepticism that Pi Network faces today was directed at Ethereum then. Now let's look at Pi Network's journey. Dr. Nicholas Kakalis's presentation at Consensus 2025 last week shared striking similarities with Buterin's 2015 appearance. Both presented ambitious visions that challenged conventional thinking about blockchain technology. Pi Network has taken a fundamentally different approach to cryptocurrency adoption. Instead of focusing on traders and speculators, Pi built a community of everyday users first. The mobile mining concept allowed millions of people worldwide to participate without technical knowledge or expensive equipment. After years of development and community building in the enclosed network, Pi finally launched on the open Mainnet. The price movement from essentially zero to briefly touching $3 mirrors Ethereum's early volatility. But what's different is the scale of the community. Pi Network already has millions of engaged users, something Ethereum took years to build. The current Pi ecosystem is developing rapidly. We're seeing merchant adoption, utility applications, and community-driven projects emerging across the network. The Pi browser and Pi wallet have created an infrastructure for everyday transactions that's accessible to anyone with a smartphone. Yet despite these developments, Pi faces the same skepticism that Ethereum did. Critics point to the delayed Mainnet launch, question the utility of the network, and dismiss the project as just another crypto. Sound familiar? It's almost word for word what was said about Ethereum. But there's one critical difference between Ethereum and Pi that most people miss. Pi Network was designed from day one for mass adoption by non-technical users. This focus on accessibility could potentially accelerate Pi's growth trajectory beyond what Ethereum experienced. When we place Ethereum's development timeline side by side with Pi Network's, some fascinating patterns emerge. Both projects spent approximately 2 to 3 years in development before major public recognition. Both faced intense skepticism from traditional crypto communities, and both positioned themselves as platforms rather than mere currencies. From a technical perspective, there are important differences. Ethereum pioneered smart contracts, while Pi Network focuses on accessibility and real-world utility. Ethereum required technical knowledge to participate, while Pi made crypto accessible to anyone with a smartphone. What's particularly interesting is the 10-year crypto cycle theory that's gaining traction among analysts. This theory suggests that major innovations in cryptocurrency tend to follow roughly decade-long cycles, with each new wave building on and learning from the previous one. Bitcoin emerged in 2009, Ethereum in 2015, and now Pi Network is positioning itself as the next evolutionary step in 2025. Several crypto analysts who correctly predicted Ethereum's rise are now watching Pi Network closely. As one prominent analyst noted after Consensus 2025, Pi Network has solved the onboarding problem that has plagued crypto for years. If they can maintain this momentum, we could see adoption rates that dwarf early Ethereum. The potential catalysts for Pi's growth are already visible: the expanding merchant network, the development of Pi native applications, and most importantly, the sheer size of the engaged community. These factors could accelerate Pi's adoption curve beyond what Ethereum experienced. So, what does all this mean if you're holding Pi today? First, it's important to consider realistic scenarios. If Pi Network follows even a fraction of Ethereum's growth trajectory, the potential upside is significant. However, the crypto landscape is far more competitive today than it was in 2015. The Pi Network ecosystem development roadmap provides some clues about future valuation. The focus on merchant adoption and everyday utility suggests that Pi is positioning itself as a transactional currency rather than purely a store of value. This approach could lead to more stable, sustainable growth rather than the extreme volatility we've seen with other cryptocurrencies. Regarding timeframes, Ethereum took approximately 2 years after Consensus 2015 to see its first major price surge. Given the accelerated pace of crypto adoption today, Pi could potentially see significant movement within a shorter time frame. However, patience remains essential. There are risk factors to consider. Regulatory challenges, competition from established cryptocurrencies, and execution risk could all impact Pi's trajectory. The most important warning sign to watch for would be declining community engagement or slowing ecosystem development. For the Pi community, strategic considerations should focus on utility building rather than price speculation. The projects that emerge in these early days could define Pi's long-term value proposition. This is exactly what happened with Ethereum, the early dApps, and use cases laid the foundation for its eventual success. So, what are the key takeaways from this Ethereum Pi comparison? First, community is everything. Ethereum succeeded because developers and users believed in its potential. Pi Network's massive community gives it a significant advantage. Second, utility drives value. The projects and applications built on Pi will ultimately determine its success. If you're holding Pi, consider how you can contribute to the ecosystem beyond just accumulating coins. Third, patience is rewarded. Those who recognized Ethereum's potential had to wait years for their conviction to pay off. The same patience may be required with Pi. What should Pi holders be doing right now? Focus on learning, building, and contributing. Explore the Pi browser, support Pi merchants, and get involved in community projects. The early adopters who actively participated in Ethereum's ecosystem were the ones who benefited most from its growth. The question that remains is this: 10 years from now, will we look back at Consensus 2025 as the moment when Pi Network began its journey to becoming the next global cryptocurrency standard? Only time will tell, but the parallels with Ethereum's journey are too significant to ignore. If you found this analysis valuable, make sure to subscribe and join our community discussions. Share your thoughts below on Pi Network's potential and what you're doing to participate in its ecosystem. Remember, history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. And right now, the rhythm of Pi Network sounds remarkably similar to Ethereum's early days. The $2,000 lesson is clear. Sometimes the most dismissed projects become the most transformative. The question is, will you recognize the pattern before everyone else does?